Hi everyone, welcome to WION Live broadcast in New York City. I'm Susan Tehrani. First, let's take a look at the stories making headlines this hour. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveils the revamped venue of the G20 Summit to be held in September. The refurbished International Exhibition cum Convention Center in New Delhi is said to rival the biggest global summit venues in Germany and China. The Israeli Supreme Court says that it's against issuing an injunction to block the controversial law that restricts the judiciary's power, says it will continue deliberations in September as slated earlier. Signs of a military coup against Nigeria's President Mohamed Bazoum. Reports of soldiers from the Presidential Guard blockading the presidential palace in capital Niamey has surfaced. Russian court convicts top cybersecurity executive Ilya Sachkov for state treason. Ruling he had passed classified information to foreign spies, Sachkov has been given a 14-year jail sentence. Athletes from Russia and Belarus are omitted from the invitee list for the Paris Olympics. IOC, however, leaves the door open for Russian and Belarusian athletes to compete as neutrals at the 2024 Summer Games. All right, we're going to cut you live across to India, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi has inaugurated the venue of the upcoming G20 Summit. The new International Exhibition cum Convention Center, or IECC, is located in New Delhi's Pragati Maidan area. The Prime Minister addressed the formal inauguration ceremony and released a commemorative coin and stamp to mark India's G20 presidency. India is set to host G20 leaders in a summit in September of this year. And earlier in the day, Prime Minister Modi performed some rituals at the site along with his ministers. The venue is part of a 123-acre Pragati Maidan complex. The IECC is India's largest convention and exhibition venue, with the capacity to hold 7,000 people in its multi-purpose and plenary halls. Constructed at a cost of over $320 million, the IECC has a 3,000 capacity amphitheater and parking for 5,500 cars. The new convention center will be among the top 10 exhibition and convention complexes around the world. It will rival Hanover Exhibition Center in Germany and National Exhibition and Convention Center in Shanghai.
यहाँ पे एग्जीबिशंस रखते हैं, अटेंड करते हैं। अनेक प्रकार से इतने वर्षों से किसी ने ये नहीं सोचा।
U.S. President Biden's son Hunter faced new challenges ahead of a scheduled court appearance in which he is set to plead guilty in a deal with prosecutors on tax fraud and gun charges. The judge, who will review his plea deal, accused a member of Biden's legal team of misrepresenting herself in a phone call to the court earlier. The bizarre episode prompted the judge to threaten sanctions, even as Biden's lawyers insisted that it was all a misunderstanding. On Capitol Hill, Republicans are ramping up their investigation into the president himself and his son, Hunter. GOP chairman of the House and Ways and Means Committee took the unusual step of filing court documents, urging the judge to consider testimony from whistleblowers. The whistleblowers allege that Justice Department interfered with investigations into Hunter Biden. The charge has been denied by the lead prosecutor in the case, who was appointed by former President Donald Trump. Meanwhile, the U.S. District Judge Marlene Norica, who was also appointed by Trump, will consider whether to accept Hunter's plea agreement or not. The efforts to intervene by Chairman Jason Smith of Missouri amounted to a high-profile push to raise questions about the deal. The president's son is expected to be spared from jail time. The dynamics of the case became even more complicated hours after lawyers filed their motion. A court clerk received a call requesting that sensitive grand jury, taxpayer, and Social Security information it contained be kept under seal and private. The lawyer gave her name and said that she worked with an attorney from the panel, but was in fact a lawyer with the defense team. When the district judge learned of the situation, she demanded that the defense show why she should not consider sanctioning them for misrepresenting the court. Defense attorneys' answers were that their lawyer had represented herself truthfully from the start. They cited calls from a phone number that typically displays their law firm's name on caller ID. Biden's attorneys are still seeking to keep information deemed private out of public court records. The attorney representing Smith said that he had only filed materials that the committee had already publicly released online. The judge agreed to keep the information sealed for a day to consider the issue. Hunter Biden is expected to plead guilty to misdemeanor tax charges in an agreement that allows him to avoid prosecution on a gun charge if he meets certain conditions. Republicans have decried the agreement as a sweetheart deal and heard from two Internal Revenue Service agents that do taxes here in the United States. The IRS agents claim that long-running probe was slow-walked and the prosecutor overseeing it was refused broader special counsel powers. Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss, a Trump appointee, denied that in a letter to Congress. He said that he had full authority over the probe and never requested special counsel status. The U.S. Navy has a new addition. The latest special operation mini submarine has now officially entered service. The submarine can hold 2 crew and 8 commandos with no need for wetsuits or breathing apparatus. The new dry combat submarines submersible allows the occupants to travel to and from their destination submerged, but without being immersed in often frigid water the whole time. The U.S. Navy has been working to acquire this capability for decades now. Previous SEAL delivery vehicles did not have the same. The Dry Combat Submersible, or the DCS, reached initial operational capability with the Navy sometime in May of this year. Till date, Lockheed Martin has delivered 2 DCSSs to the Navy. The company is finishing its work on a 3rd sample. Details on the dimension and capabilities are limited. Lockheed Martin says the Dry Combat Submersible has the potential to transform undersea warfare for special operations. The company says that it provides safe clandestine delivery for occupants over long distances in a completely dry environment and features a lock-in, lock-out chamber. This results that the occupants arrive at the mission warm, rested, hydrated, and most important, ready. China sent 29 warplanes and warships in missions around Taiwan, including J-16 and J-11 fighter jets. The Taiwanese military says a combat drone even entered the island's southeast air defense identification zone. The Plead sorties, the PLA sorties, that is, come as the self-ruled island started 5 days of annual war games this week. The Taiwanese Defense Ministry reported that the 25 PLA aircraft flew towards the island, with 10 entering Taiwan's southwest and southeast air defense zones. A strike and reconnaissance drone was also tracked crossing the median line. The line in the Taiwan Strait separated Taiwan Sea from Chinese territory. And since July 21st, Taiwan has reported 107 PLA warplanes and warships operating around the island, with 38 aircraft crossing the median line. Meanwhile, the 39th edition of the Taiwanese military drills entered their third day. Taiwan conducted anti-landing exercises on the strategically located Pangu Islands, where a major airbase is located. The drills were part of the annual Han Kwang exercises. Anti-armor troops and tanks rolled through mounds of dirt on the island's coast as soldiers fired mortars and artillery on offshore targets. The drill was designed to implement the, quote, joint anti-landing combat exercise, demonstrating the strike capability of Taiwan's troops. And now to the music streaming giant Spotify. The company has released its second quarter results, and it's a mixed bag of successes and challenges. On the one hand, Spotify has surpassed expectations with a remarkable surge in monthly active users and premium subscribers. However, the company's quarterly revenues fell short of estimates, and a larger than expected loss has sent its shares down 5% in pre-market trading. This report tells you more.
Spotify users in the US and UK face higher price tags for the platform's premium plans, along with dozens of other countries. The music streaming company on Monday raised those subscription fees as it looks to boost profits in an uncertain economy. It translates to a $1 to $2 increase for Spotify's US premium plans, which will now range between $5.99 and $16.99. In a statement, the company said, quote, "These updates will help us continue to deliver value to fans and artists on our platform." Spotify has in recent months tried to boost margins with hundreds of layoffs. It's also restructured its podcasts unit, which it had built up with billions of dollars in investment. The moves come at a time when audio and video streaming services are under mounting investor pressure to boost profitability after years of prioritizing user growth. Rival services from Apple, Amazon and Tidal have all raised prices this year. And YouTube Premium upped its charges in the US last week on monthly and annual plans for the first time since the subscription service was launched in 2018.
The effects of climate change are drastically affecting oceans around the world, and according to a new study, the ocean circulation in the North Atlantic is likely to collapse sooner than expected as a result of climate change. This can cause further disruptions in weather patterns around the globe. More in our next report.
Scientists suggest the Gulf Stream system could collapse as early as 2025. The Gulf Stream is a warm and swift Atlantic Ocean current that originates in the Gulf of Mexico. It flows through the Straits of Florida, up the eastern coastline of the United States, then diverges east and near North Carolina, and moves towards northwest Europe as the North Atlantic current. Now, the shutting down of vital ocean currents, called the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation or AMOC, would bring catastrophic climate impacts. Due to global warming, AMOC was already known to be at its lowest point in 1,600 years. Researchers found warning signals of a tipping point in 2021. If global carbon emissions are not lowered immediately, the new research predicts that the collapse could occur between 2025 and 2095. The AMOC's collapse could have disastrous consequences around the world. It would severely disrupt rain that billions of people depend on for food around the world. The Antarctic ice sheets and the Amazon rainforest would both be put in far greater risk. Further, the study says it would result in more storms, lower temperatures in Europe, and a rise in sea level along North America's eastern coast. This particular region is already feeling the effects. The surface ocean temperature in and around the Florida Keys has soared. A water temperature buoy located inside the Everglades National Park in the waters of Manatee Bay hit a high of 38.44 degrees Celsius. On the other hand, other buoys nearby topped 38 and 32 degrees Celsius. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, normal water temperatures for the area around this time of the year should be between 23 and 31 degrees Celsius. The United Nations World Meteorological Organization said earlier this year that global sea temperatures have reached monthly record highs since May. The UN weather body says that a marine heat wave like that seen in South Florida is a threat to fisheries and ocean ecosystems. Several fishermen in the region are experiencing the problem, who have concluded that catching fish over the years is getting slower and slower. Some have even seen dead fish in the water.
I've been down here doing this for the past 6 years. Started my own thing, or I guess 7 years. Started my own thing going on 5 years ago now. It has been getting a little bit slower and slower each summer we've been fishing. I'm not sure if it's because of the water temperatures or anything. I'm not sure how much it's even affecting us offshore wise. As we're fishing the Gulf Stream, staying pretty steady around like 85 degrees or so. But as far as all of our bay waters, any near shore waters, everything's super, super hot. Up to, as you mentioned, 101 degrees water temperature.
Temperatures like those in South Florida can be deadly for marine life and threaten ocean ecosystems as well. This can also have adverse impacts on human food supplies and livelihoods of those whose work is tied to availability of water. Experts predict the ongoing heat waves are expected to continue through August in the northern hemisphere. The increasing frequency and intensity of severe weather, both on land and in the oceans, is an indication of global human-driven climate change. And unless human-induced factors are reduced, ecosystems around the world are at risk. Bureau Report, WION World is One.